Hi, everybody. Welcome to Spirit Reflections, Conversations Around the Fire. My name is Fred Gouveia. This is your first time here. This is an ongoing series of bilingual conversations in English and Portuguese about people's personal and spiritual journeys, the tools that they found along the way, and how these tools have shaped who they are and the work that they do today. We interview artists, philosophers, scientists, and religious people of all traditions and backgrounds to learn how they came into being and the insights that they discovered along the way. And if this is your first time here, please like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Visit our website, spiritreflections.org, and sign up to our mailing list so you can be updated on our upcoming episodes. And we're also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and on Spotify. So let's get right to it. Today, we're going to be talking about eurythmy, music, anthroposophy. What does that mean? And I'm going to introduce you to my guest. She's a pianist from Brazil. Her name is Juliana Jorge. And she started her studies at the age of 6 in her birth city, São Pedro, Brazil. She holds a bachelor's degree in music and piano from the State University of Campinas, also known as UNICAMP, and a master's in music degree focused on both the collaborative and solo piano performance from the University of New Mexico in the United States. In 2016, she received a full scholarship to deepen her studies at the Bard College in New York, where she attended the Advanced Performance Studies program specializing in collaborative piano. She was the staff pianist for many music festivals and collaborated with renowned artists such as Charles Schlueter, hope I'm pronouncing that right, Matthew McBride Deline, Adam Frey, James Gourlay, and Alex Klein. She has an album with the Brazilian brass group Metalumfonia, premiering the chamber music works for brass and piano by the Brazilian composer Almeida Prado. Juliana currently lives in Calgary, Canada, and she today works as a staff pianist for the Alberta Ballet School and the Youth Singers of Calgary, as well as a chamber music coach and piano teacher. If you want to know more about her work, check the description below, which has her website and her Instagram, The Pianist on Demand. And we're going to learn all about her and eurythmy. So, Ju, welcome to the channel.
Hi, Fred. Thanks for having me.
Beautiful. So let's get right to it. First of all, we always like to have people share their personal spiritual journey and how they got to where they are today. Then we'll talk about music. So why don't you take us back to the beginning?
Okay. So as you told, I was born in São Pedro, the state of São Paulo, a pretty small town. And I was surrounded by family. I have Italian heritage. So I used to live with like an uncle and an aunt, everybody living nearby. So there was always this big family presence while I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And for the spiritual part, I grew up Catholic. And my mom used to teach like the Catholic Sunday school, the equivalent of it. And she always had a really open-minded approach to religion and spirituality. So although we were Catholics, we always tried to understand and figure out everything they had in common with their different religions. So we're always able to see faith in wherever, So
Beautiful.
It doesn't matter with faith you come from, everything has its similarities, So we always were really open-minded about this. And nowadays I'm still a Catholic. And I try to see the world as like energy, mostly. Like we're humans and we're moved by energy,
Absolutely.
And we're going to get more into that.
Awesome. Yes. And tell us then, how did you get into anthroposophy and eurythmy? How did that discovery come to you?
Well, that was fate, really. One day, I am a collaborative pianist, and for those who don't know what it is, I play basically for other people. So I do collaborations. So either playing for singers, instrumentalists, choirs, ballet classes. This is what I do for a living. you know. So one day I was accompanying a bunch of pupils at UNICAMP. It was
In
a
Campinas?
master's admissions test day. And I was there waiting for my turn to perform. And there was this piano teacher there. And he had a really old neighbor for a long time that was an eurythmist. And that day, she came to UNICAMP to ask him if she knew somebody who could play for her, and I was by his side. And,
You
and
overheard the
she came to him
conversation.
at that very moment. Yeah, exactly. No, not even heard. Like she just came to him and asked him, "So, do you know somebody who could accompany me?" And she was like, "Isabella, Juliana, Juliana, Isabella, here, talk to each other."
Like just
It
like
was
that.
really like this. It was like at
Perfect.
arm's reach. Yeah.
Okay.
And she was like, "Oh, so I'm an eurythmist and I just finished my master's. I need somebody to play for me so I can keep practicing. And would you be willing to do it?" I was like, "Sure." Just playing for somebody to move, of course, why not? And I had just come back from New Mexico where I was playing for the ballet. So I was like, okay, so more dance.
More dance, yeah.
And
you're used to playing for ballet dancers and dancers, so in a way you had some familiarity with that eurythmic background without knowing, I guess.
No, right? Just with like classical ballet. Interesting thing, we scheduled a meeting for a week later, and I could not remember the name Eurythmy. I've never heard about it in my life.
It's a funny word, and when you Google it, you get mostly a British group of rock singers, a rock band, right?
The Eurythmics.
Right. So you basically had the meeting the following week that you met her, and how did that go?
I thought it was really weird.
Like mystical, esoteric, spooky?
Not quite that. It was the quality of the movement that was weird, because it was not like a modern dance. I don't know if people have seen Eurythmy before, people that are watching us right now.
Probably not.
But I encourage you to like put it on YouTube and see what it's all about, just so you know what I've seen for the first time with like absolutely fresh eyes. And I was really puzzled by that. I was like, what? Like, what are you doing? And the first thing she asked me to play for her was a scale, like a C major scale. Yeah.
Okay.
And she started to like dance the scale. I was like, why are you moving into notes? Like, why? Where do you get this choreography from? And then week by week in our meetings, she started to explain that to me, and like, where did it come from? And she lent me a book about Rudolf Steiner. Of course, we'll talk more about him later.
Yeah.
And then I got to know it, and I was fascinated by it. And this was, I think, about September 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the year, she was invited to teach at a Waldorf school.
I see.
In Campinas. And she was like, okay, I can teach, but I'll bring my pianist with me. Is it okay? And the school was like, sure, bring her along. And that's how I got sucked into the anthroposophy of Waldorf.
You were called to it.
Exactly. It was really just meant to be.
So take us in those first weeks that you were collaborating with her. You described a little bit the first meeting that she was basically dancing to a C major scale, and that kind of was weird. And as the weeks went by, how did your impressions change?
Mm-hmm. Once I got to know a little better, I started to, again, being open-minded,
right?
Just observe and see how that would act, and how that fits, and try to like hear the sound, watch the movement, and see how they relate. And
Okay.
I gotta say, it's a process, a long process. It's not like you read a book and you get it. So I
You
actually
have to.
started
It's
to
more. It's more
understand.
experiential. You'd say, or is it more theoretical?
It has to come along, and the observation is really important.
Got it.
So the more you see, and you see it happening, like to other people. And from my point of view, being a pianist inside the classroom is really good, because I have a point of view for everything that is
Right.
happening at the moment. And it just started like to get to me about like a year or two after working with it. Because like you don't
Oh
have to
wow.
believe in it, you don't have to do it, you don't have to do anything to play for a rhythm. You can just be a regular pianist to play, as long as you can read notes and play your instrument, you're good. You can just
Okay.
do what you're told, you know.
Got
But
it.
it was really, it got me, you know. So it was really interesting to
So, okay,
watch the
let's
phenomenon.
this phenomenon. Good word. That's a good hook as a segue to what I'm thinking here. You said you can just be a musician, just play an instrument, and you're perfectly capable and qualified to play in a eurythmic context. Is there specific pieces of music that are written for eurythmics, or can any piece of music fit a eurythmic phenomenon or experience?
Any piece of music would do, because eurythmy is a form of movement that actually expresses in the space what is happening in the music or in the speech. So we have the two sources, so to speak.
So a form of
Um,
movement that expresses the sounds or the speech.
yeah, yeah, the musical sounds or the speech. I mean, the speech is also
Got
sound,
it.
but
Sure.
so it expresses it. What happens actually when you're going to pick? Have the pedagogical arrhythmy that is taught at the Waldorf schools. We
Hmm.
have the therapeutic arrhythmy that uses arrhythmy as a healing, um, in the healing context, and the artistic arrhythmy. And this one that's actually like the dance form with all the veils, that goes into stage.
Right.
So we have these three parts that it
In
divides,
fact,
and
for
then
those of
we
us that
tend
are watching on
to.
YouTube, that are not listening to this, but that are watching this, I'm sharing something on the screen now, which looks like the third type of eurythmy that you just mentioned, Ju, which is the artistic, which involves more the
Yeah,
performance, right?
yeah, it's like the stage groups. They have like a whole undergrad course for those who want to become like actually performers. And
Got it.
besides that, we have like youth arrhythmic groups. So
Got
they're
it.
like, it's
So there's
important.
therapeutic and pedagogical. Let's go one by one then. Tell us a little bit about the pedagogical one
Mhm,
first.
mhm. Okay, so the pedagogical one is part of the curriculum of the Waldorf schools,
Hmm.
and I'd say it is the type of art that really stands out in a Waldorf school, because eurythmy is an art that was developed by Rudolf Steiner, and one of her pupils. Her name just slipped my mind right now, but
Hmm.
her mom was friends with Rudolf Steiner,
Hmm.
and her daughter, the pupil, she was a dancer and a ballet teacher. And she was
Okay.
interested in develop a form of dance that would connect her better with her outer bodies. And for those who don't know, like anthroposophy, I just studied by reading. I was never part of a study group or anything, so I'm just like
Mm-hmm.
curious. So I'm not like the most indicated person to talk about it in depth.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's a sort of spiritual science in a way,
Mm-hmm.
that is about the awareness of the human being and their more subtle bodies, so it's not
And
just the
and
physic
I think we have
and
like
not just the
seven, right?
soul.
According to anthroposophy, seven bodies or seven layers of bodies. Is that correct?
I'd say actually it's three.
Three. Oh,
It's
okay.
like the
I'm
vital
confusing.
body, yeah, the
Okay,
vital, the soul, and the physical body. Oh,
got it.
or four. I'm not sure. Again, it's
No
in the
worries.
books.
So the idea was
So
that
I'm
she
not
was able
like,
to have a dance type that would integrate those three or four bodies as she was in motion with the art form, with the music, right?
mhm. More than integrate is to bring awareness,
Okay,
because the bodies are
got it.
there. Either you realize it or not,
Yeah.
So what happens is like, as you see the man, there's like the physical body, of course, the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Then the soul, that is like the core that is in the universe, so
Mm-hmm.
it could assume any form. Let's put it like this, because in your human limited point of view, we just see ourselves as humans or something else that we can see and can
Right.
understand. So again, uh, we're limited.
Sure.
And the vital or etherical body, that's the actual life. So some days we woke up and we were really energetic, and some days we're really like down, like our energy level is really low. So it's this kind of body as well,
Got it.
and I think the Eurythmy nowadays is really important at the Waldorf school curriculum. Now going back to the pedagogical thing,
Sure.
because it brings awareness to this, like to the etherical body, actually,
Got it.
and the physical, of course. And, I mean, everything is a whole. So,
And
like, by one, you can access the other.
in the school, in the curriculum within Waldorf, how are the children experiencing eurythmics? In which settings? What type of
Mhm.
settings?
Yeah. So what happens is, the Waldorf curriculum, and now the number seven comes. It's sort of divided by 7 in 7 years.
Right.
So your life goes in 7 year cycles, sort of. So the first cycle that would go like from the birth until seven is like, they're in the kindergarten. So it emulates sort of their house. So Eurythmy is given mostly like through poems or small verses and limericks, So it's really all about the speech. It's more about the
Okay.
voice and the phonemes, the, the sound of the
The
letters.
phonetic experience.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And there are some gestures to every letter, so we just incorporate these gestures into the choreography of the poems.
Got it.
And kids do that by imitation. And the thing that is fascinating throughout the Waldorf curriculum, that goes from the age of 7, they start the regular school. Before that is the kindergarten, but it's already Waldorf. In Germany, it goes until 21. That's when you become like a complete human being. Like,
Right.
all of our bodies are born
Mm-hmm.
in a way. And a lot of kids, they get out of school and they don't know what they did Eurythmy for, because
Right.
they don't understand. They're not mature enough to know why they did it, and it's worthless trying to explain a lot. So just have to give them the answers that they can understand for that moment, but usually it just clicks after they're adults and if they're willing for it to click. Like why was it important? Because it's not something you feel at the moment. For
And
somebody who is doing
when it
it,
clicks,
it's like
and
they're
when
playing it for small kids.
okay, so when it clicks after they're adults, what kind of an understanding, awareness, or insight do they usually gain from it? Is there something that we're able to pinpoint?
Mhm. Usually it's like, oh, so that was that for. You know? So like they enroll their kids in Waldorf school and then they see their kids doing a rhythm or they speak to the teacher and the teacher then explains to them like, okay, so when he does this gesture, this happens. Sort of in a way it organizes the body or deorganizes the body, like depending on the exercise you make, you can put order to something or make it really chaotic, just by doing some type of gesture or choosing like the wrong type of music sometimes. You can really mess with the with the objective,
Got it.
and
Got
that's
it.
the thing sometimes. Yeah.
So, for example, if I wanted to test this out, I could just take any song and let my body move to it as if I was dancing and just sort of let it flow, let the music go through me and move around. What it's is that one of the ways to experience eurythmics?
Yes and no. At the beginning, Steiner, because he was like a visionary and a philosopher, so he had his own way of seeing things. And like most of anthroposophists just spend most of the time trying to comprehend what Steiner was thinking when he wrote what he wrote,
Right.
or when he suggested what he suggested. It's like, where did this come from? But in a way it just makes sense. So it started as experiments, but he would give the musical elements for the girl to experiment. So that was the process. Like they would meet and he would like, okay, so try to speak this and move to this, try to play this and move to this, so different elements. And he was like, okay, so bring me the movement feedback. So like, what did you think? Why did you think it? And on the next meeting, they would discuss and go further. And this went back and forth for a few years until like they developed the rhythmic form as they are
So
today, because it keeps changing. It's alive.
it's progressive and alive and constantly evolving. So did in this process, did they develop some kind of a playlist of music or songs for people to go by as like a suggestion?
Um, Not this, but they did Eurythmy forms. Form is actually the chorus. So it's written on paper, and they
Hmm.
left like these forms of some pieces of music. So there's
Okay.
like a collective, I think about 4 books the of pieces they work together, they chose. And so it's like the base study for people who
Got it.
actually
The
like
foundation.
get the high level of artistic rhythm. So
Got it. And
mhm.
so that's the artistic side. We talked a little bit about the pedagogic side. What about the therapeutic application of eurythmics?
Mhm. Yeah, eurythmy can have an effect, especially at the vital body, the theorical. So there are some exercises and elements that you can work on that can enhance that, and bring awareness. Sometimes we go completely oblivious that we have a vital body, we
Right.
just feel low and then you think you should have like some more caffeine or just get some sleep and you'll be fine. But sometimes you're going through a process and everything everything gets sort of chaotic and disorganized inside the vital body, and it's hard to connect like the vital to the physical. And this sort of imbalance can cause a disease, either mental or physical. So that's how it happens, like for the therapeutic arrhythmia. So I can say that with property because I actually did therapeutic arrhythmia, and I had like panic crisis, and this is actually what cured me. So I can really swear by it.
So then in the therapeutic arrhythmia, is there like any examples you can give, like musical examples or of like a session and how it's in practice so we can get an understanding?
Well, for my sessions was mostly the phones. We didn't work with music. It was more speech.
Oh, okay.
And I believe most of therapeutic arrhythmia is more about this sort of exercises using a lot more of the speech gestures than the musical gestures. So like specific type of phonons on the body. Of course, a arrhythmic therapist can say more about that.
But like, is it like a music
usually
therapy session?
they give
Is
you
it like
a
talk
sequence.
therapy? A sequence. So you're supposed to like recite a type of sequence of a phone of sounds?
Yeah, actually, you do them with your body. You don't speak. You do the choreography of the phones.
Okay.
So, like every letter of the alphabet, it has a phoneme to it, and it just shows in the body the movement that the air makes when it passes through the larynx.
Okay. Got it.
It's weird, and the most weird part is Steiner developed it way before we had image, like inner body image. So we could not actually see the movements and the vibrations that it was doing. But after we have like modern technology and we can see the air flows exactly like the body moves to that phone. So
according to the shapes that he developed for every letter of the alphabet, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty cool.
And it has different.
I remember in the episode that I watched you talking about Eurythmic and your work, you gave some really cool musical examples in the piano to suggest different moods and how those connect with Eurythmic and sequences and rhythms. Now, I was wondering if you could take us through a few of those so we can sort of feel into the science and this magic of Eurythmy and understand.
Sure. Let me move my focus here.
Ju is getting her piano. We'll be listening to that shortly.
Okay, so just let me test here just to make sure the piano is working. And then you can let me know.
Okay. We'll go. We'll do thumbs up or down. Okay. We can't hear a sound, but perhaps, I guess if you keep your current microphone and you could just hear through there.
Yeah, we can try that. It may have a delay in the
Delay,
sound.
right?
Yeah, a delay or an echo.
Echo. We'll give it a try.
How does it sound?
I don't know. Are you able to turn up the volume? Yeah, much better.
Did you go through?
Much better. Yep.
Okay. just move my mic closer there.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, so the first example I'm going to play, usually play for small kids to move, and it's about fairy tales and the fantasy and imaginative world in a way. So this is the Tanz das Vega. It's like the dance of the dwarfs.
Oh, cool.
So they would just walk and like emulate like their like little gnomes, you know.
So here's an
like,
invitation
just
for
small
those that are
creatures.
watching. If they want to get up and move around and get into the spirit of dancing like dwarfs, then we can report back. If you're watching live, you can type in your comments if you're seeing this live. Cool.
So this is really cute.
Cool. So for us that are trying to visualize this, as you are playing this, kids would then be moving around to like a pre-set choreography, or they would be encouraged to create one on the spot?
No, it's preset by the teacher.
Okay.
So the thing is like we work with Eurythmy at the age-appropriate movements. So it's not always, I mean, the main goal is going to kick in further in life. So sometimes for the kids, it's just walking in rhythm. You know, we don't try to feel anything. You don't try to be aware of anything. You just do what you're supposed to do in the moment. And that's the beauty of it. Because it's not something that you teach the kid, but it's something that actually comes from the kid, the rhythmic thing. The quality of the movement and the different sort of gestures, you know, it comes through the playing. Especially for the phonemes and the specific gestures for like musical intervals or for the music notes. So they have specific gestures for them. And while doing the exercises, you just have to be present in the moment doing the exercise. You know, you don't have to try and feel the connection with your outer body when you're like 9 years old, you know, like
Right.
This is not what you're supposed to do. You just have to be worried to like clap and walk the notes and rhythm in the circle. You know, that's all you have to do.
Is there a point in the curriculum when they're older that they open it up for a spontaneous movement that the student just acts out on the spot according to how they feel?
During high school, they have they start to have the freedom to create their own forms, you know, their own choreographies. But Eurythmy is never free. You know, you always have because it is the reflection of the music or of the speech on the space. So you have to do what's on the score or what's written, you know. So it's never, unless you compose the music, but then you have to be respectful to your own creation and put in the space what is not there. So I mean, what is there?
Got it. Cool.
And
is there
the thing like if you have the foundations, you're going to do the right thing.
Got it. Okay. Maybe you could take us in further out, like more advanced level example of music and how that is usually taught in the
Mhm.
classroom. That would be cool.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to play one now. It is an exercise that's the kind of thing that starts to build the foundation. So this is more like elementary, junior high level of music.
Okay.
So it's an anapest. That means for the when we study music, a lot of our rhythms patterns that we have today came from ancient Greece. So we had like dactylus, iambics, anapest, and all sorts of rhythm patterns that would combine like short and long,
Hmm.
and they have different effects on the body. So if you look, for an example, at like war music, you always have the ta 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 ta.
Right.
You know that sort of energetic, syncopated the emphasis to the strong beat. So like you
Right.
really push to it, with the short before the long. And like the anapest, if you're going into battle, you have to build up, the energy. So the ta
Right.
ta 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 ta. So you start to build that, and this is an example of the anapest that we use in the rhythmic classes. And again, the teacher knows what is expected from the students, but the students don't know what they're like, what's supposed to happen to them because they
The-
are not mature enough to be aware of that. And it's not something that they're going to artificially acquire. So it's just something that ends up happening. But it's like it's chosen by the teacher. That's why a
through
rhythm
constant.
teacher has to be a certified rhythm.
So then the teacher knows through the teacher's intentions and experience, eventually the teacher knows how it's supposed to unfold. But in the first encounter, the teacher won't tell the kids how it's supposed to unfold. Eventually, the kids will organically, somehow, intuitively understand and begin to follow along and move according to what it's supposed to be. Is that
Not
correct?
even. Yeah, the kids, again, if they don't get interested after they're adults to know what was supposed to happen to them, they will never know why they were doing that specific piece of music.
Okay.
They will go through the class completely oblivious. And this, for a 13, 14 inquisitive teenager, it's terrible. That's why you talk to most of teenagers in the rhythm schools, in Waldorf schools around the world, they hate Eurythmy because they're just supposed to do things that they don't know what's for. So they just hate it with all their guts.
And isn't there
So it's the
a
most
explanation or some kind
hated
of a
art
bridge
form for
that can
teenagers.
help them understand why they're doing what they're doing? Like, have they been able to figure out a way to help the kids that are inquisitive like that
Mhm.
understand?
Yeah, usually, yeah, but that's the thing. You can say something for them, but they're not prepared to actually to they start to feel it after they're 14 and they do artistic arrhythmic. So when they started to actually do the music and do the poems and get out of like the exercise realm, that is actually what builds the foundation to that. So but the thing is, like, you have to have the patience to turn 14.
Got it.
And get out of that second like 7-year cycle.
Okay.
That's
All right.
usually what happens when you get to high school and you start to deal with the artistic arrhythmy. That's why you have to build the foundation before.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Gotcha.
Mhm. Okay,
So
so this is
what are we
the
listening to?
Energischer Anafest by. It's an manifest. It's an Eurythmy exercise that the students would have to like stomp their feet, walk in circles usually, and this will like this piece of music could be used like at a centerpiece or just as an exercise to like to get the class together to do something. So it goes like this.
That sounded pretty cool.
Yeah, and this is like it's energetic, but it's not like it was a. No more like deep into conflict,
Less conflicting, less warlike. Yeah, it's lighter.
Brings energy and sort of organized. Yeah, exactly.
Got it. So I figured that I'm just imagining this. I never read this anywhere, but like it could be like, for example, if my vital energy level one day is really low and I have a class that gets me to stomp and dance around a few rhythmic patterns like the one you just played, it's very likely that I'm going to get a boost of more vitality that moment, right? And it might be helpful then for me going forward the rest of my day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Or it could bring you down easily.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is there other movement to do in the piece of music or the poem you choose?
Got it. Is there any like classical music or standard musical examples that you could play for us, maybe that you can make a connection to this approach to Eurythmic or this awareness or a perception of it, perhaps?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could play for you some pieces that bring out like the different temperaments to illustrate. So I'm just trying to find it here.
So the different temperaments.
Exactly. So we have the filmatic, which is really like that loving. I wouldn't say lazy, like laid back. The person who's always happy, and it doesn't rush to do anything, but it does everything. Usually really smart, and doesn't like to move much, but it's like light, And then there's the cholerical, is that person is really like more condensed energy and strong and assertive and does everything that has to be done and short and blah, 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 like this. Then the sanguine, I don't know the name in English for that one.
Sanguine, yeah, sanguine.
Somebody does. Yeah, the sanguine, right?
Yep.
That can be described as the happy one. With songs energetic and happy and woohoo, what is that thing? Woo, yellow. And then the melancholic, which really like is heavy and picky and perfectionist and nothing, and everything is it's hard, So there are pieces of music that can reflect that. And the thing inside the human essence, we have all four temperaments in different percentages. So
Right.
we are more choleric or more sanguine, and there's always one that stands out most, but we have all four of them. So
Cool.
I
Which one are we going to hear first?
The phlegmatic. So, and this was just chosen by me. It was not like chosen by Steiner or anything.
Sure.
So this is a phlegmatic. Now the choleric is a okay. So that one for the phlegmatic was the Gymnopédie number 1 by Eric Satie, and now is the Dança do Índio Branco. It's like the White Indian dance by Villa-Lobos for the choleric example. So on. Okay. And now.
Very warlike.
Yeah, exactly. It's really angry and always like troubling moving. And now for the sanguineous is the Musette by the Ana Magdalena.
Yeah, that was nice. Melancholic. I'm very curious about that one.
Okay, so melancholic. I have chosen to play a nocturne by Chopin, just at the beginning of it. Is the Opus 9 number 1 in B flat minor. So that one. It can be really melancholic.
Definitely. I wonder if people want to put in the comments below which one they resonate with the most, or which one of the four they think they have a higher percentage of. I definitely know what mine are. That's cool. Jules, we're getting kind of close to the end of our conversation. I wanted to see if there's any sort of last words that you want to give us as sort of takeaways. And I'm going to also leave your website and Instagram for people to look you up. I guess my question is, for those that want to go further into Eurythmics and understand, after having seen this conversation, what would you suggest as resources and references for them to look into?
I'd say try and reach out for an eurythmist because they're the only people that can actually teach eurythmy or make you experience it the right way. It's not something that you can make up as a dance teacher or that you can do it by yourself because it has to be a guided process. It's not just like modern dance experimenting. Of course, it's always good to do that by yourself. It's always bring a good outcome. And just to be aware of your body and the movements and how do you feel this into different types of music. But if you want to do eurythmy, try and reach out for a Waldorf school nearby. Most of countries have Waldorf schools, and sometimes it's just something we don't realize that we have something closer to us because I don't know, we're unaware of the fact, and we don't know what they are. They're just saying it's like a weird artistic school, but there's more to it. And I mean, if you're interested about like following the spirit reflections and being the public to, an audience to that kind of content, probably you're interested in a different type of school as well.
Definitely. We definitely get
So,
the spiritual minded people here. And I've personally have been just discovering now the different facets of the Waldorf schools and the Waldorf education. And I was very intrigued when I saw your conversation uh, about eurythmy and how it connects to body movement and learning. And it's a fascinating new universe. And it's one that I hope more people get to discover, especially as it pertains to applying in their lives a more therapeutic way of moving our bodies, using movement of bodies in a more aware way so that we could sort of, I guess the word would be harmonize or bring more balance, right? Bring more conscientiousness to our daily life.
mhm, yeah. Yeah, and an important thing to say is like it's not gonna change who you are. The things like, oh, it's life changing, and all of a sudden you're going to be a Zen person. But no, it really doesn't. Like you keep being you. It's just like it brings awareness to how you're feeling, and sometimes you can foresee something that is like unsettling you and you can realize a trigger. For me it was sort of this, for my personal process. It was a
It
lot more aware of the elements that would make me anxious. And being a performer, because you care, so you get
Yeah,
anxious,
definitely,
and it's okay
definitely.
to do so. It's just not getting it to the point where it bothers.
Right.
So it's just bringing aware of that kind of thing. Like, okay, so which level am I? And what can I do to bring it down? And this doesn't
Cool.
have to be a rhythm. It could be just a breathing technique or yoga or an asana. It doesn't have
Sure.
to necessarily be a rhythmic. So
Cool.
that's why, like,
Well,
it's the answer to one thing, but it's just an element in a whole realm of possibilities.
definitely. No,
Mhm.
this was a lot of fun. I got to learn a little bit more. I want to thank you, Ju, for your time all the way in Calgary to show some musical examples, to share a little bit about your personal spiritual journey, and invite everybody to like and subscribe our channel on YouTube and look up our website. We just put it up, spiritreflections.org, and type there your email so you can get our mailing list. And we hope to see you in the future episode around the fire here, and hope everyone, until then, stays healthy, stays safe, and enjoying the music. Ju, take care. Thank you, everybody.